Welcome, everyone, and happy Thursday. It is noon Eastern time here on the East Coast, and you know what that means. It is time for Talent Experience Live, the show that covers everything that you need to know in talent acquisition, recruiting, talent management, and human resources as a whole. I am your host, Devin Foster, and this program is proudly brought to you by the wonderful team here at Phenom, whose purpose is to help a billion people find the right work. Of course, we joke that is not a typo, but a billion is a lot of people. And the way that we do that is one of the ways that we do that is through this program, also through our wonderful blog, through our events presence, our upcoming event at I Am Phenom, and of course, our wonderful technology, which we like to call our intelligent talent experience platform that helps candidates find the right fit faster, employees evolve in their current roles and beyond, recruiters achieve next level productivity and efficiency. And of course, how could we forget about managers? Managers get a better data and insights through automation and analytics. So if any of this interests you at all, do not walk over to phenom.com. First, watch this whole episode, of course, but then go to phenom.com to learn more, where you will find out a tremendous amount about our upcoming conference in, I think, like 2 weeks, almost less than 2 weeks. It's nerve-wracking here, but it's called I Am Phenom. We are super excited. Today's guest is a platinum sponsor at I Am Phenom, so shout out to them. We also have, a tremendous amount of content there. Everything that you need to know, want to know, and have to know about human resources and technology as a whole. So that is I Am Phenom. You can also go there, IamPhenom.com. But first, Phenom.com will get you there. Well, now that the bills are paid, we have all of the housekeeping done. I'm very excited about today's episode. Today, we are talking about designing tomorrow's workforce with QuantumWork Advisory's holistic approach. Today, we have Bethany Mummert on, who is advisory practice leader at QWA. As I mentioned before, they are a platinum partner, and they are going to be at I Am Phenom as well. But I think we've all noticed, the changes in the industry, how everything is happening so fast, and QWA certainly has their finger on the pulse. So without any further hesitation, I am going to bring Bethany onto the program. Bethany, how are you today?
Hey, Devin. Nice to see you. Great. Happy Thursday.
Nice to see you as well. Happy Thursday indeed. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know I had a little bit intro there, but no one is better about telling us about themselves than straight from the source. So Bethany, before we jump into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, how you maybe got started? I always joke that no one ever grows up and wants to be in human resources or in the human resources world. So tell us maybe a little bit about your journey and a bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'd love to. And gosh, I look so young, but for the past 20 years, I've been spending time within the talent and technology space. I'm local here to Pennsylvania, not too far from where you all are, South Central side, on the east end of York. Live very much in the country with my husband, going on 20 years this year, believe that or not. So he was with me from the start in terms of this journey, and still continuing strong today. We've got 2 boys and a very vibrant boxer puppy that keeps us active. But really, where I started my journey was with tech systems. So joined the organization again roughly 20 years ago, and really started out with staffing teams within the technology space and turnkey solutions from a global standpoint. And then from there, I had moved on to Armstrong World Industries, which is also relatively close in Pennsylvania, based in Lancaster County, and oversaw the project management office, vendor management office, international divestitures, and then also our IT finance spend. So had a purview as chief of staff across the entire IT department. From there, I had left, went up to New York City and worked for a smaller women-owned boutique, actually in the managed services space, where it would be program optimization in the contingent labor category. So help from a services delivery standpoint there. And gosh, fast forward, here we are today. Roughly 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to come back to the Allegis Group family of operating companies. So Tech Systems being one that specializes in IT, but QuantumWork Advisory, we're a boutique consulting firm that really orchestrates the interconnectivity across all of human capital management space. So with a specialization within IT, but also the people experience in terms of how you're using the technology, and really is it fit for purpose for what your business objectives are.
Yeah, that's awesome. I asked that question to a number of our guests on the program, and so frequently people mention, the staffing world, and how they kind of maybe dip their toe in the water there, or they were introduced to HR through that. And I think it's very funny, because it's almost like drinking from a fire hose there, where you get to immediately see what's beyond the job description. You understand the intricacies of the compliance side of human resources, and how people sometimes navigate through that water in ways that I won't talk about on today's show. But I love hearing that, because I come from a staffing background as well. My wife is in staffing. And then, your journey really took off from there. And now you found your way back to maybe not the staffing world exactly, but back to Allegis Group. You mentioned QWA. You mentioned that you've been there for 2 years. I want to know, obviously you're in the consulting world, right? But I spoke with Mark last year, Mark Condon, managing partner and founder of QWA. And he made the joke. He's like, I started this because I just think that we need another, consultancy out in the world. There weren't enough. Obviously he kids there, but what specifically does QWA do? And maybe what makes your organization unique compared to others?
Yeah, so we really specialize in workforce agility, development, productivity, but with a unique lens, in that we apply a design thinking component. So what you'll find with us is that we don't have a very stuffy, formalized process in terms of a one-size-fits-all model across our client engagements. Instead, we take an instance really to understand the client's needs, who's specifically going to be using the programs and the skills of work, and what business problems we're looking to solve for. So oftentimes we'll get feedback from the industry that technology is the problem. Everybody, we hate this tool, we don't want to use it. There's a instant gratification within our society that you turn the light switch on and everything works. However, what we found is that a lot of times, problems that we're solving for are specific to process or people. So technology is just the oversight, but it's not necessarily the end all be all in terms of resolution. So there has to have a rally point in terms of ensuring that we're going to propagate this investment in the most meaningful way, but then people are really, into it, that they want to use it, and that they see it as a betterment for how it's going to improve their work and experience in itself. We believe in design thinking. So not sure how familiar our audience is with that today, but you can apply it from any notion to problem solve. And there's really a methodology in terms of empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, and verify. Those 5 stages that we've seamlessly orchestrated into a project methodology that's a combination of agile and waterfall, in terms of having those deliverables that coincide with that process. So we're starting out with, what is it that we're looking to solve for? And then we have an aggregated approach to bring in all of the different users and constituents to have a holistic view of what would be best for future state. So we've got a lot of traction in terms of not only that specialization within that design thinking standpoint, but also that we're able to apply and practice what it is that we do every day. So internally, we apply a design thinking protocol as well, and it really allows us to rejuvenate our business.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a couple of things that jumped out at me when you mentioned that there. The first was how organizations always want to just turn on the light switch, right, to make technology work. And I think it's so funny to me, because what organizations from like a recruitment and talent acquisition side, they pride themselves on how unique they are, right? What makes their organization different than their competitors and different than who they're competing with for talent. So to put yourself in the shoes of somebody who thinks, oh, this is just like my iPhone. I'm going to turn it on. It's going to ask me, a couple of my preferences, and then we're good to go. It runs so much deeper, especially when you have so many different people in the organization and how folks operate. I can tell you right now from my recruiting background, I wasn't the best recruiter, but I also didn't, rely on the technology the way that I should have, which is my hand up. That's my bad. I didn't take notes or things like that. But that's something that you have to account for when you're rolling out technology, right? Is who the individuals are, who your, really driver of this technology is going to be, and who's going to be an ambassador to say, this is how our company works, and this is the underlying factors that we need to account for. So I love that you mentioned that. The other thing that I want to call out there is that you mentioned that you're, a problem-solving organization. Now, I know that you're a problem solver. You mentioned you have a house full of boys. You have the little boxer running around the house, which might have been a little bit of a handful as well. So obviously you have your own problems that you solve for very well. But when it comes to QWA in the business, what exactly does that mean, being a problem solver in the industry?
Yeah, and a lot of times we've had feedback where clients, we don't have any problems. You don't want to admit to it, right? Like if you would say so, this is our problem. And you're essentially admitting failure, right? That I have this problem, I don't know what to do. But the reality is that everybody has problems, right? So whether it be at home or in the workspace or so forth. And really, when you have clarity as to what the problem is, then you're able to diagnose, okay, what is the root cause? And then what are all those disseminating factors that would influence it? So some of the methodology that we'll apply is really having a problem statement framework at the start of any engagement. And when I say that, it can be complicated because you want to consider the who, all of the different personas and different people that maybe are interacting within the organization, and they may be experiencing different problems, but the root cause may be that they're all using the same technology, but it's not fit for their individual purposes. So we'll take a viewpoint from a persona lens, and our domain industry experts that we have within the organization would have always sat in a recruiter chair, an HR professional, and a hiring manager, a systems integrator. They have a vantage point from different lenses as to how technology can best service them, but not only from a super user vantage point, but also in terms of behind the scenes, how the tech is supposed to be working, the integration points, and then that bigger voice across how the organization will come together. We need to understand what it is that we're solving for. So what is the impact? What is the strategic objective that we're looking to solve for? Where is the problem? Is it local? Is it globally? Is it within a specific business unit? So we like to be direct there. When do we need to solve for this? So what's the urgency? What's the business driver? Are we looking to make money? Are we looking to save money? What is the root cause as to how we need to show that once we've solved this problem, that there's really an impact and we're achieving that future state that we want? So it's very comprehensive in terms of the analysis of the problem, but from there, it really fosters that unity because everybody feels as though their voice was heard. And then you have a common ground as to what it is that we're doing in this effort, how we're solving for it, and how it's going to impact all of the different personas. So my background, starting out in recruiting, but my bachelor's degree would be in psychology. So originally, thought I wanted to go into therapy. So in a lot of ways, this is similar in that we're empathizing with the persona, with the user experience. But then we have a holistic approach as to how we can transform an organization with what those recommendations may be for future state. So that's what I would say from a problem standpoint.
No, 100%. I love the background in psychology as well, because to me, this reminds me of, everyone saying they've got 99 problems, but they aren't one of them, right? Like I am not the issue. And that brings, to mind when I turn on the TV and Netflix isn't working, or Apple TV is skipping or something. Like, it's not me, it's the TV, it's, the Wi-Fi router, whatever it may be, when really, I'm just not patient, right? At the end of the day, or something like that. So understanding the who, the what, the why, the when, and the where for these problems, I think is so important. And I love that you mentioned right at the top, the persona, right? Because I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier. People operate and work differently. I don't like to take notes. That's a personal problem that I need to work out and get through. But understanding those before diving into things, because oftentimes it's not the technology. The technology is built in a perfect sandbox, right?
That's right.
I imagine sandcastle on a beach. It doesn't account for the tides changing and the kids running up and down the beach, or the seagull dropping anything, right? There's so many of these other external factors, and figuring out how they all work together is only going to help make you successful in the long run, I think. I want to ask you, though, because you mentioned also a potential location, right? A local, global, whatever it may be. When you talk to folks in the industry, what are they, telling you as far as what some of these challenges may be? I picture a stock market program. Like, what's the market telling you, Bethany, when we think about these in abstract lens?
So we have done a listening tour for the past year. So albeit QWA is a very much startup organization. I think beyond inception, we're about 3.5 years old. So still on that toddler phase and as growing. But what's lovely is we have Allegis Group as a powerhouse, one of the largest renowned worldwide human capital management organizations. So our breadth and reach in terms of who we could target and listen, we've been able to tap into that network, as well as our partnership channel, albeit partnerships with Phenom and others and the likes. So, and then also our clients. So I think we've had a diversified thought channel in terms of how we've been listening. But what we're hearing is that, frankly, we're not doing enough. So while as well-intended as an organization as we are, to simply do an implementation of the technology just isn't good enough. So clients are asking, can you take us on a strategic journey and help us decide which tech we should purchase? What should that implementation plan look like? And essentially, what is this going to do for our organization to recoup that return of investment, but also have the adoption, a return of adoption? So CHROs are looking at not only ROI, but ROA. So what does that mean exactly? Is that the ecosystem out there is very complicated. There's a lot of different selections. And oftentimes we'll see that clients will select something very specific, maybe to do a CRM implementation, but we don't find documentation across the whole ecosystem, which would be in the way of VMS or your HR suite, CRM systems, your ATS, your learning and development. I mean, there's so many different components that feed and the integrations speak to each other. So to have that seamless one-touch experience when you go to do the way in which you'll work, it's important that all the systems play nice and talk to each other in that progressive way. And if they don't, how can you avoid that friction? And how can you have a workaround so that your experience is smooth? So we've been hearing from the market that there's a need for that total workforce view and how that ecosystem really does connect across the holistic platform. IT is no longer sitting just in a silo within IT. It's within the different business units. The owners and the personas that we spoke to are constantly evolving. Technology is in every single thing that we do. And it's not fit for purpose to just have that single, almost tunnel vision. So the perspective that we'll take holistically is to understand the experience and understand what it is that we're looking to solve from a bigger lens.
Yeah. A couple things. First of all, I love that you likened QWA to a toddler with almost like a big brother or big sister, right? With Allegius helping them along the way. Like, no, this is how we can get the toy at the store. We just have to be, nice, like getting you to where you be. And then you mentioned Phenom as, maybe the neighbor or something like that. That's also there to help you out. The other thing you mentioned is the just disjointedness, which is something that I know we have talked about here at Phenom for years. And the joke that I always like to make is it's alphabet soup, right? Everything, VMS, ATS, CRM, the whole nine. And then to connect the dots with, they all have to play nice and play together. It's like taking your alphabet soup SpaghettiOs and mixing it with alphabet cereal, right? And it's like, this is sugary. This does not work, right? So understanding that you are making the same cohesive meal and getting to your solutions is only going to help the problem in the end. So I love all that. One thing that I also love about QWA is that you practice what you preach, right? So I want to ask you, how do you specifically apply design thinking internally at your organization?
Right. So we took a look based on the content that we received from the market and really went into deep product development for the past first quarter, I would say. So looking, it's April 11th here. So we've been at this for the better part of the year. And really what we've come out with is a new suite of offerings that is fit for purpose holistically in the market. So in the past, we would have more of a modular approach in terms of each, and oh my God.
Did we lose you? We are back. Apologies for some of the technical difficulties. Bethany, what happened?
I know. So as my kids like to say it, right? Loser error, mom. So forced restart on my end. So but look, humble. Everybody makes those same technology clicks or instances, and not always comes out swimming. But we're back and we're live, and here we go. So
we are back, and I'll tell you what, I am exceptionally jealous that you did not use any profanity when that happened, because we would have had to cancel the show. But welcome back. I'm excited to continue. I know we were in the midst of chatting a little bit about how a QWA does apply design thinking internally. And I want to make sure that we get that clip all good and well. So I'll hand the floor back over to you.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, based upon our listening tour that we've heard from our technology partnership channels, from our clients, and then also from our constituents across all of the different commercial operating companies that we have access to, is that we needed to go back to the ground floor and look at some of our product development. So in the likes previously, we'd have more of a modular approach where you could purchase an implementation package or a change management package independently. So what we're hearing is that there's a greater demand and need across having an aggregated package from start to finish. So prior to implementation, how would you select the technology? So we can come in and we can help from a business case development, not only to understand what that return of investment would be, but also to ensure that you're getting the adoption at the end. So we applied design thinking internally and took a look at ourselves in terms of how could we best productize it, and we've been on an evolution thereafter. So part of our partnership with Phenom was having that insight to say that we need to be doing more. So as an organization, not only do we promote that methodology, but truly we practice what we preach, and we're constantly evolving and iterating and ensuring that we're getting better as we go each time. One of the notions that I'll mention is the Navy SEALs mantra. So we took a look across that in terms of slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So if you slow down at the start to really conceptualize and have a vantage point as to what problems it is that we're looking to solve, then when you make those high value decisions, you can truly go fast and everyone is on board. The ease in terms of seamless solutions is there. but a lot of times there's not time in the beginning. Everyone's anxious. You want to shop, you want to buy, you implement the tech, and then you go, as opposed to taking a step back to really being thorough with what those business requirements needs are, what the personas across all the different aspects are telling us, and how the interconnectivity across the different ecosystem comes into play. So it's a holistic approach, and I'm excited to talk a little bit more about that at Phenom when we reveal some of our product offerings too.
Absolutely, and we're excited to hear that. And I love that analogy of starting slow to get smooth, and then smooth becomes fast. It makes me think of like watching someone skateboard, right, or snowboard with years and years of experience, and you see it and it's like, that looks so easy. They make it look so cool, so seamless, and then you go buy a skateboard, not speaking from personal experience or anything like that, and you end up in the hospital, right, with a broken ankle or something along those lines. You have to take those baby steps before you can run. And it sounds like you're doing exactly that. Now, the other aspect that I want to chat about is, the power of design, specifically user experience, because I think there are a lot of technologies, and I'll use streaming services, for example. I think we can all say that Netflix is king, right? Everyone refers to going home and what are you going to watch on Netflix, right? They've kind of taken that market share, even though there are the exact same, almost carbon copies of them elsewhere, where you can watch movies and things like that. But as I mentioned, sometimes there are issues, right? Can you tell me about user experience solutions? Because I think the reason why Netflix is king is because it's so simple. It's so easy to find what you're looking for. The recommendations are there, everything along those lines. Is that the same kind of use case applied to human resources? And do you guys focus on user experience specifically as well?
Yeah, so I'm definitely a big Netflix fan, probably over addicted. So that's kind of a problem because it's that good, right? But we're not promoting their services here today, although big fan. The approach that we'll take in terms of how to conceptualize a user design experience is graphically and visually. So not only will we interview folks and say, okay, tell me what's going on, right? So the therapy session, lay on the couch, get it out, tell me what you're experiencing. Why is that? How frequently? Who else is saying this? We really do a holistic diagnostic, but then we'll take that and compound it in the way of a journey map. And a journey map will show the varied personas, but then also how the work is being done step by step through process. And then we'll also overlay the technology. So what tools are you using in order to complete those tasks? Or is it very manual? And how often are you doing it? And then we'll put in a sentiment wave, which literally will show, this makes me very happy. This is easy. This is a great experience. Or this is the most frustrating part of my day. It is incredibly time consuming. And I'm constantly having to go into this and having these same concerns over and over and over again. So we'll pinpoint visually, okay, this is how the work is being done, start to finish, and not from a SOP standpoint as to here's the tried and true practice and the governance model, and this is the way, but really, truly, how is the work being done? What steps are being followed? Which ones are we doing workarounds with? And which ones do we love? And which ones are just causing so much headache? So from there, we can diagnose people, process, and technology to really have a visualization of the current state. Here's the way in which you're operating today. But more importantly, what's the future? So a lot of the times the clients will see this and they get very excited, putting on those lean Six Sigma hats. And gosh, we can mark this up. There's so much waste. We can make this so much of a better seamless experience. But oftentimes customers don't have that vantage point. They don't have that totality view. There's documentation, there's transfers across different people as to who's consistently doing the work. And you have people coming and going, or you have different decisions made. There's not a holistic viewpoint as to why is this experience the way that it is. So in the way that we do that, we also make it fun, right? So through workshops or through interviews, and really getting down to the root of connecting with people to truly understand how the work's being done, but moreover, holistically as an organization, how the work is being functioned. So executives love this because it's a one-page view, as opposed to many different opinions. And as a third-party consulting agency, we very much are objective to come in to say, okay, this is an opinion versus this is an actual functionality, or really, truly, this is an area that you should spend some more time to uncover and unpack, because if you fix this one thing, all of the other things in the domino effect will be great. So the need for a journey map is just that visualization, but the mechanism in order to produce it is a listening system across the organization, because there's feeds and inputs across so many different people that make it meaningful.
No, I think that's it. I think of journey map, right? And I think of this whole, map that you fold out like it's the 1990s to get to point A to point B. What you just described is not that at all. I'm not going to mention another name brand. We've already done too many I've done too many free shout outs on this program, but it's like one of those apps, right? Where it tells you how to get to point A to point B, but also if there's construction on the road, if there's backed up traffic, if there's something, how do we get from point A to point B seamlessly, without having, to shout at traffic or put your life in danger or anything along those lines. Now, I obviously mentioned an example that leverages AI, and it feels like everyone is contractually obligated, no matter what industry they're in today, whether it's on the news, whether it is in human resources or even baseball, you have to talk about AI. So I want to ask you, I promise we won't get too into it, but do you feature AI in these journey maps similarly to the way that maybe a destination map would, I guess?
We do. We do feature it. And the notion would be, here's an opportunity to introduce a new way of working to alleviate some of the friction in which you're experiencing from a manual standpoint. So not only when I mentioned about that Six Sigma point of view in terms of lean methodology to how to do the work most efficiently, but also, are there tools and capabilities out there that could aid you in doing your work? So the notion is for it not to replace humans. There will always be a need for humans to do work. And there's, quite frankly, too many things that we can't automate, and too many things that that tech would be a cumbersome as opposed to a solution. But the notion is to reinforce what is that strategic operating model that's best for your organization. So where do you want to introduce technology in order to make repeatable, very manual, least desirable type of work that a bot could do for you in order to free you up to do some of the more meaningful, or quite frankly, the rewarding type of features within your jobs. So there's an opportunity to lean into it in terms of how do you want to introduce that into the work that you're doing, as opposed to this is what we're told, and this is how now I need to use the tech because it's going to replace a function of my role. What we'll try to do is introduce different ideas or notions within functionality of, did you know that there's a bot that could help with this? So that specific task would alleviate so much of that frustration that you're experiencing. Or frankly, it could be the flip, where the AI is the one that's causing the frustration because it's not fit for purpose, or it's automating repeatable tasks that require manual work to go back and undo. So there's different opportunities and elements of where and when to introduce it. Through the holistic target operating model, we'll provide a 4B methodology, not just because my name is Bethany and I love the letter B, but the build, buy, borrow methodology. So if you're going to build a capability, what training, what type of infrastructure do you need to have to co-create that? If you're going to buy, so are there specific folks that you want to target that already have that keen knowledge and insight that maybe you don't have that time in order to train and upbring, but you want to have that specified subject matter expertise in a timely fashion that is going to be sustainable long-term, that they have to be a part of the organization that tech isn't going to be able to automate. Borrowing, where do you want to have consultative services that would be temporary? So it's a moment in time to fit a specific initiative or work. And then bot, where can AI help from a manual process improvement standpoint? And frankly, if there's functionality that already exists within your ecosystem, maybe people aren't even aware of it or how to turn it on or use it in the most optimal way. So it's a combination to get kind of that right future fit model that is long-term, that is safe skate, that you can operate in a very progressive way for a long-term state.
Yeah, I mean, I love, first of all, before we jumped into that humans aren't going to be replaced, right? I think if anything, we are resilient. And the way that you're able to specialize holistically over people, processes, and technology is fantastic, right? And mentioning those 4 Bs, 5 Bs, because you need Bethany as well. I'm going to add that in there.
That's
But
right.
yes, you can send my check in the mail. It's fine. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. You've talked a tremendous amount about, all that QWA does and how they're helping organizations. I want to ask you, is there a particular strength that you feel you are superior at above others?
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked through some of the domain expertise. So our team of well-versed consultants all have the human capital domain industry experience parlayed within a technology ecosystem as well. And really not only having that domain so you can meet the user where they are, and really I've sat in your chair, I understand how you're going through the work, but also we start with the why. So getting down to the real root cause of what is the technology here for? What do you need it to solve for? What is your business operating model? And how is this going to enable you to future fit the model? So instead of coming in with a very conservative or stuffy approach as to, we've seen this across every organization and this is the model that you should use, we really do a customized approach to understand and meet our clients where they are and then co-develop the solutions together. So it's not a consultative approach coming in and saying you should do all of these things, but rather seeking to understand. And it's really not a new concept. If you think from a doctor, a physician standpoint, or gosh, even mechanic, in terms of you bringing in your car, there's something wrong with it, and you want to have it diagnosed. You go into the doctor's office, you're not feeling well, give me a prescription, doc. So we're always looking for what that solution is. But many of times we're prescribing the remedy for the symptom, not the root cause. So if you really truly take a minute to look under the hood and ask the right questions, right? Not just the assumptions, but asking the right questions, seeking to understand, then you can form fit the solutions that are right size, not only for the individual, but for the organization. And who doesn't like making a good investment, right? So that's the output for it. But we apply that design thinking lens combined with that subject matter expertise in domain industry. And then also we're nice people. It's fun to work with us and we're easy to work with. So it's not painful, to go to the doctor's office or gosh, I'm going to get raked over the coals when I go into the mechanic. No, you look forward to it. So it's your therapy. It's the mechanism and security that, gosh, I'm making the right decision. I feel confident with it. And all of my constituents are on board. So how could you not have this be a successful project?
Yeah, absolutely. Working with you is like, brushing your teeth every day and flossing every day. It's not like going to the dentist, right? Because people are terrified to go to the dentist. They're going to get root canals. It's going to be painful, the whole nine. No, working with QWA is going to get to the root of the problem, which is you're having sweets before bed and not brushing your teeth, right? This is how we solve it. The next time you go in for a checkup or something like that, it's going to be far more seamless. It's awesome. I love it. I love how you're, working with organizations to get to the root of that change management and really solve things. I know that I promised that I wasn't going to talk too much about AI today. And the reason why is because I know you have an upcoming workforce innovation lab. Could you tell me a little bit about that and what it's going to entail?
Yeah, thanks, Devin. We actually, the week after I am Phenom, so the first week of May, we're hosting an event in Austin, Texas, and we have a wide range of Fortune 100 clients that are coming. And the idea there is not for vendors to talk at you, but really have a peer-to-peer immersive experience where we're workshopping and we're problem solving industries, problems as a whole. And the spirit of it is across AI. So we'll understand across industry leaders how are they using it? What is successful? How do you introduce it not only from a human resources standpoint and full-time, but also your contingent working landscaping, and then holistically your workforce design. So the idea is to have a future fit model, but to uncover a lot of the things that are happening from an industry standpoint that, everyone's talking about AI, but nobody's talking about policy or compliance or the fear factor that, gosh, is this going to replace my job? And it's something new that I have to do. And how much time is this going to take? So really bringing forward some of those notions as to how best to explore it, how best to introduce it, and then what a future fit model would be. So we've got 2 days jam-packed across all of those different pieces, an actionable roadmap and an implementation plan, as well as pragmatic thinking to kickstart your journey, are some of the outputs that we hope that our attendees and participants would have. In addition to a toolkit for that they could bring back immediately and apply to their organization. So a lot of it is not just theory or in concept, but there's a practicality element and really unnerving some of those concepts that people don't necessarily want to talk about, but we will.
No, I that's awesome, and I love the fact that you had mentioned you're not going to be talked at, right? Like I imagine, typical conferences where it's this room full of, a ton of people, and this is how you solve the problem, right? We talked about that. Organizations are unique. To get tidbits and network from other best practice organizations and apply that and find out what your secret sauce is for your alphabet soup is truly the best way that it's going to do. Now, I know you mentioned that this is a week after I Am Phenom. I also know that you have an upcoming session at I Am Phenom. So I want to ask you, what can folks look forward to with regards to that?
Yeah, so we've built the content all around rock music. Okay, so it's going to be very boring and not exciting at all. We're not encouraging you to come with drinks in hand or to rock on or anything like that. But no, I'm being very serious. We do want people to do that. So the theme is, what can you uncover from an epic rock song? And I won't give too much away, but we may have some people who are flying in from our organization that are very, very big Freddie Mercury fans. So we've got a very lively session, albeit I think it's day 2 for 30 minutes towards the end of the day there. And the idea is that we'll be able to have a sharing session across what has worked fundamentally from an implementation standpoint, that your sheet of music has all of the high notes, the chords are running, everyone in the band knows their part, and the audience is really rocking on and they're into the journey. So then the folks that are on stage who are playing that, right, who are putting in the technology, our analogy, as you can see, the technology for the rock music would be that the fans are going forward with it on their own. And I think there's a lot of harmony there in terms of how Phenom stages their products and really making the fans out of the users. So we've taken that same notion, but really applying it across a different lens. Our sponsor there will be from Leonardo. We also have a few others from a panel vantage point that we'll have as well. So very much looking forward to the time together. And as a platinum sponsor, you all will be attending our innovation lab as well. So really looking forward to those continued discussions as we go forward.
I'm so excited about it. And I love the concept around the rock concert, because it makes me think of, listening to music at home. Like I love to listen to music 24 hours a day if I could, but I can't. However, there's something special and unique about being with others who enjoy it, right? And in that rock concert environment where you get the benefit of it. It's one thing to listen to a recording where everything is perfect. I talked about that sandbox before, right? That's where technology is built. But then when you get out into the world and you experience it and you hear the music very loud and you have a little bit of a headache because maybe you had a couple too many drinks, again, not speaking from experience there or anything, but it makes it special. It makes it memorable at the end of the day. So I certainly will be attending. I might even wear a white tank top, Bethany, just to bring out my own Freddie Mercury mustache out. But no, this has been an awesome conversation. I'm glad we got it all worked out technology-wise. that's what you specialize in. So I had faith the entire time. And I can't wait to see you in Philadelphia in just a few short weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks out. Thank you so much. This has
you.
really been fun. Enjoyed it.
Awesome. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
That was Bethany Mummert from QWA. We talked about it all over the course of 2 parts. Everything from alphabet soup and all sorts of technologies that you have. We even had some of our own technological issues just to show you that it's possible to work through these challenges and have a seamless solution at the end of the day. As Bethany mentioned, they have their Workforce Innovation Lab coming up in Austin the week following I Am Phenom. And if you are going to be at I Am Phenom as well, you won't want to miss their session as well as their booth. Feel free to stop by, ask any questions. But in the meantime, I hope everyone has a safe, happy, and healthy weekend. And we can't wait to see you in 2 weeks at I Am Phenom. Thanks so much.